I want to get the numbers right. Pressure.
Too much whispering.
I know, it makes me feel like, what are they? What's
I know, right?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today we are here hosting a panel forum for the World Triathlon Championship Series Bermuda, hosted by our chairwoman, Hazel Clark, 3-time U.S. national champion and 6-time Olympian. So take it away, Lisa.
Okay, thank you very much, Shireen. And I absolutely love this panel. It's a diverse representation of our sports community. So it's really great to have all of you here. We're going to talk sports today. We're going to talk about development in sports. We're going to talk about sports sponsorship. We're going to talk about sports events and organizing and everything in between. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with Dr. Freddie Evans, the president of BNAA, and also the father of one of our most accomplished sports men, Aaron Evans, middle distance runner after my own heart. So let's just start by talking to you a little bit, Freddie, about your role with the BNAA and the fact that you've organized some really impactful events, including most recently the Bermuda Games. Tell me about that partnership, why that was important, and why BNA put so much effort behind it.
Well, thank you, and it's awesome to be part of this panel and be amongst this distinguished team. For BNAA and myself, the vision we had is to continue to create sustainable track and field events so our younger athletes can see themselves projected onto a world stage. But that really is our secondary mission. What we do tell all of our athletes, and we try to encourage all of our parents to understand, we believe there's a place in university, college, where they can run. Now, everyone won't be queen of the track like Hazel Clark. They won't be D1 like Aaron Evans, but there's a lot of other opportunities. And so we try to ensure that our students are academically ready and then athletically ready. And then we try to help them find schools that will help them be able to go off and matriculate, acquire an education, and come back and be part of the greater Bermuda community. And it's not me, it's the whole team effort, all of the coaches, the parents that are involved, but we have an outstanding success rate. I mean, we really are proud of the young people who have gone away to school and come back and then start to contribute to the society, and now contribute to the track and field program also. So we're really proud of that.
You should be proud, because I do think, you hit on something really important. Sometimes people think you have to be an Olympian or a national champion or even a D1 or full scholarship athlete to have really made a difference with your sports career. But I think that there's just, and we all know there's so much value in sports, even for those that don't make it to the top of their field, just the fact that they're able to learn about discipline and learn about, the self-confidence, especially in young women. And I always think about who I would be without sports, and it's kind of scary. So I love that you're really fostering that, and that you're sending that message that it's about more than a medal, more than having a professional career. Very few go on to do that, but there's something that is really, really impactful in sports and changes lives. So thank you for that message. Kamiko, I'm going to go to you. I love your story, and you are, a lot of people have seen your face. You are right now the poster boy of this, as some would say, of the Butterfield Bermuda Championship, and just so well known for your everything you've accomplished in golf. But you grew up Spring Benny, right next to Port Royal Golf Course, playing, picking up golf balls. Just tell us a little bit about your story and your emergence into the sport.
Well, my emergence into the sport started at age of 9. Growing up in Spring Brandy, having Port Royal as basically my backyard. Had some family friends that play golf, and we used to go hunting in the trees, look for balls, come back, and they hit them. And I fell in love with it, watching them hit balls. Just listen to the song, the club, and the ball made when they make contact. I mean, it's a loud thwack. I can't really say it properly, but it's a
You know it when you hear it.
yeah, it's just.
I played a lot of golf, I've never heard it.
But you know it when you hear it.
Like that really drove me to it, and just being outdoors. I mean, my family is a family of athletes as well on both ends. My uncle, Kevin Smith, my mom, Pamela Smith. Uncle won May 24th 9 times. So, and I also did track and field a little bit as well growing up, but golf, I was drawn to golf more than anything. So yeah, my pathway was basically jumping a fence at Port Royal. And you got the ranger driving around his golf cart, he'd swing around just to check out the golf course, and there'd be me, and he'd kick me off every now and then, more than often. And I'd just come back and keep going at it. Fortunate enough, I grew up next to one of the greens, and we had a street light. So I would stay out on that street light, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, pitch black, mom's yelling out, you come home. And I love the game. I have a deep love for this game. It means a lot to me. And especially having a PGA Tour event there at Port Royal now, it's a dream come true. Being able to play in it too.
So you touched on my next question for you, which was, what does it mean to have Butterfield Bermuda Championship, a PGA Tour partnership in your backyard? What does that mean? And even the APGA that came, to the island. What do those types of partnerships mean for you as a professional golfer?
As a professional golfer, and so the journey is tough. Trying to get in the PGA Tour is extremely hard. You have hundreds of thousands of people, guys, women, trying to get on the tour, and to have the opportunity in my backyard, it means a lot. It's a dream come true, really, and grateful for Butterfield, BTA getting this event here. It's a big opportunity for people like myself that's trying to get on tour to have an opportunity to play on a PGA Tour event. I mean, it means a lot. I can't really even express it. It means a lot.
I think a sense of pride to play in your home backyard, must be, is something that I'm pretty sure, for a Bermudian athlete cannot be replicated anywhere else.
It can, it means a lot. Having my grandparents there too, being able to see me play in 2 tour events means a lot.
I always love the shots. The shots of your grandma always get me, and you stopping to give her love and praise, and I know that it has to be so exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional. Yeah, that was actually when I was on the tee. I was like, "Hey, am I able to enter?" So I didn't really cry. I just wanted to give a hug, but that was a very emotional moment for both my grandparents to be present and see them. So thank you to all you guys that made it possible.
So thank you for inspiring us to make it possible. We do appreciate that.
For playing with the streetlights.
That's right.
Playing the streetlights.
Tanya, when I think about you and HSBC, I think about a passionate partner and a sponsor that just doesn't hand over a check, that actually you can tell cares about our sports landscape, building the sports tourism product. Can you talk about your passion, because it's palpable, and why it's so important for you to support events like World Triathlon Series and get behind the development of our sports portfolio here in Bermuda?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's about brand Bermuda, right? I think, irrespective of whether it's the Butterfield Championship or not, this is where we're putting our island on the world stage. And I think that, we all, as part of the corporate community of Bermuda, have a responsibility to do our part to continue to showcase Bermuda and all of the talents. And if I think back to what we're talking about, trying to ensure that our children and the next generation have as much opportunity and a better opportunity to be able to access elite sports, what better way to do that than in our own backyard? I mean, selfishly, I also have 2 young children who are both very sports mad. I'm a proud parent. I have my 12-year-old son will be competing for Bermuda for Carifta next weekend, and that has come out of these programs, to be fair. When we talk about the starter programs, we talk about, he's 12, he's been involved in the sport since he was 9, and I think it's very interesting and so important that we get that kind of 9 to 14 is such a key age for so many of our athletes, I think, where it's so easy for them to fall away, but yet the self-confidence we talked about, the camaraderie that it brings. And I think from a corporate perspective, that those are exactly the values that I think from an organizational perspective, it's really important that we continue to develop and foster and nurture in every sport. I think, girls playing football is another one that we've sponsored in the past. And so it's not about, which corporate sponsors what, it's about brand Bermuda.
Love that. That's perfect. It is about Brand Bermuda. And I think when everyone keeps that in perspective, it allows us to really have a concerted, collaborative effort, not work in silos. I always say people in Bermuda are doing great things. We're doing it in pockets, and we have to come together and find a way to really integrate our vision to make sure that we have strength behind our athletes and our sports events and our sports landscape. So I love what you said about that, Brand Bermuda. Ms. Crowell, you have two children that you've helped to parent and helped to develop. You have one that's an elite performer that we all know very, very well, and then you have a younger daughter that's emerging as well. Can you tell us about both of them and what their journeys look like coming through the ranks in Bermuda?
Yeah, sure. So Nikki, our so humble footballer, right? Nikki started very, very young, sort of at Dandytown, right? And parents going back and forth. We also took him to Ajax. I was actually talking to Freddie a little bit about it, right? We went to Ajax at the age of 11 with a group of kids with Scott Morton. And Ajax wanted Nikki. They asked him to stay at 11. And I think that was a bit too early for him. I would have liked him to stay, but I think he wasn't ready. And it was awesome, though, and throughout his journey, there was ups and downs. I think we need to teach our kids, and I think it's changed a little now, but teach our kids that there's so many opportunities and the world is really small, that just because you are over in Europe or over in the UK or over in the US, you're just a plane ride away, right? Like those opportunities internationally are really important to help your career. Nikki then went on to RIASA education. So that's huge, right? And I think it's really important. RIASA is a football university. There's another young man that we found that's there now, Owen Butello, and hopefully doing wonders. Nikki only stayed there for less than a semester and was recruited by, I'm probably going to get it wrong, I think it was Carlisle first. I get really confused. Carlisle, Bradford, one of those. And so my concern was the educational aspect, right? Because I think it's really important. And I had these chats with Nikki about making sure that if you're moving away from education and you are going to play football, you need to make sure you have something to supplement that later, right? Because I think it's really important for all of our kids to understand that you still need something to fall back on, right? Nikki is 31, 32 years old, and the career of a footballer doesn't last long. And so what will they do when they finish, right? And obviously, because of the way education is going now, yeah, he can do some online courses and he can maybe be an agent or help, which is what we hope, help the younger generation come from Bermuda, right? And he's done that for a number of different Bermudian players already, right? But that was a key message that his dad and I talked about with him was, education and how you're gonna do that. On the other side of it, I have a daughter who is involved, I will say, in sailing. And she's not as involved, or I shouldn't say not as involved, she's not as competitive as I would like her to be. I'm more competitive than she. And so she does like it. There's a number of young athletes that are doing some amazing activities in sailing, and they're going off to, which is something we didn't have when we were young. So I was a sailor when I was younger. We didn't have the colleges and universities or schools that you could go to that focused on these different sports, right? And so there's two really good young men, Jordan Vera and PJ Rodriguez, that are in, I want to say it's called Christ Church School in Virginia. I hope I got that right. And they're doing amazing things, traveling around the US. And, it's important because they're also getting their education. So I think that's one of the things that within this panel discussion, for me, I think is really important is as our students or as our kids progress, we also have to have that educational component and find ways to have them have the opportunities for sports, but still get the education that's needed because you may not be that athlete all the time. and forever.
And what's your plan?
Yeah,
right,
It's
exactly.
always the what's your plan?
That's right.
And I think I often reflect upon, I think the children these days, now we're all dating ourselves maybe a little bit, but in my day, we didn't have the accessibility to the international as the children of today do. And I think that's the great work of a number of the local associations to having provided that. But then you look at the financial planning that has to go into the parents to even get some of their children there, or the fundraising that needs to be done for some of those tours, and just to provide even I'm thinking, like to get to an international golf tournament is such an expensive, daunting proposition when you're first starting out. It's a lot of tenacity that needs to be thrown into that too, right? And it's amazing really when you think about it. So that's another life skill as well, right?
Well, yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking in the back of my head about Kamiko and also reflecting on my own career, because when you're an elite athlete and you dedicate your life to it, I retired, I think, around 35 years old. And there were two things that I had to fall back on. First of all, luckily my education, graduated from the University of Florida. Then number two, financial literacy, which I think everyone has talked about or touched on the panel. And it's huge. I was very fortunate that I had a parent that had also my older sister was a 4-time Olympian. He had gone through it and he told me to set up a SEP IRA immediately. None of my teammates knew about that, but it helped to set me up with a retirement account in the future. Financial literacy, the educational component, and also the transition into the workspace. Those are very challenging and daunting transitions. And I've talked to Kamiko a little bit about one thing you touched on. First of all, the support and cost to even pursue an elite career, specifically in the sport of golf, very expensive sport. So I want you to talk about that. And then also I want you to talk about the feeling of, that at some point this is going to be over. Do you have any fears or concerns around that transition? Because I think we don't talk about that enough as athletes, about that feeling as an elite athlete. So I'd love for you to touch on that as well.
A little bit. Sorry. The financial part of it, I pretty much have funded myself from the start. I worked, saved up some, I knew what I wanted to do from jump. So I worked, saved up some money, working at Belmont, and basically just decided to leave. And I just left Bermuda and chased my golf career. And it has been ups and downs, like we talk about. I mean, mentally, it can be a whirlwind, but just staying focused with it. But as you retire, as I come to an end, especially for, like I said, my passion is golf. So I would end up doing something involved with golf, kids, community, education, what Mr. Evans talked about, with what he's doing with his group's doing with his organization, just based around all that, and just giving the kids a pathway if they do want to compete for education. And there's other branches you can go through for golf and sport in general. Is working for Golf Channel, there's working in the PGA Works program, there's the superintendent, the agronomy. It's so many. You can be a business manager for sports, an agent. There's so many different avenues you can go for golf. So just want to just help with that, eventually. That's what be probably my end goal would be, to do that. Create a pathway where kids they don't have to try to figure it out on their own like I did. Just create something like that.
I think he raises a good point, because you talked about all those different career opportunities that kids can do for golf. I think we have so many kids in Bermuda that love football, right? Not everybody is, going to be a Sean Goder, a Nikki Wells, a Beckham, right? They're not, right? But that doesn't mean that, just like Kamiko talked about the various activities or careers in golf, the same thing in football. And I think educating the kids to say, you may not be that Beckham, right? The Nikki Wells, there's other opportunities for you. And providing that education of what else you could be doing, and you'd still be in that football path and that football career, and that football arena, is still awesome, right? And then I really am big on the financial planning, right? So I think, and that is, we went through it, right? So Nikki getting to where he got to, that a lot was funded by family. And, it wasn't easy, right? And I don't think that those conversations are had early enough, especially because we have so many kids in Bermuda that want to go overseas or now getting the opportunity to go overseas, but the financial aspect is not there. The financial understanding and planning is not there. Not just from the kids, but from the parents as well, right?
And I think
Well,
there's the passion.
the parents know what they're getting
Well,
themselves
this
into.
is it, and I think that's also the sort of passion project when you think about one of the main, sport is such a harmonizing activity. You look at football, it's a team sport. It's all for the team. Even, in track and field, it's about the team, even though it's an individual, race, you're running for a team. But yet I feel like that if we don't manage the financial planning correctly as a community, you're going to create wider division from the haves and the have-nots as well if we don't. And that's, I think, one of the real risks that we have as sport develops in Bermuda overall, and we begin to really get quite a strong pipeline of athletes, is making sure that they all have equal access to the financial opportunities that there are out there as well. Because I think, yes, like technically, I guess running and things like that, you have your legs and but if you have like a sport that requires equipment, like a bike or a golf or a sailboat, those are really expensive items that parents are difficult. Will struggle for, right?
I know, like my way for golf balls was basically, like I said earlier, go hunt in the trees next to 4 and 5, just around Port Royal. Balls are expensive.
Exactly.
You got to go hunt in the trees to find golf balls and the premium
I used
balls.
to sell the ones on Belmont.
Hey, no, I did it as well.
Yeah, that's kind of thing, 'cause my husband did that. Was that what you guys did when you were younger? Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do that, just sell golf, just to make a couple dollars
Yes.
too. And I mean, it's not easy finding equipment. I mean,
No.
equipment is very expensive. I mean,
Interestingly, on the triathlon thing, though, as I've noticed come through this with my son, there's a lot of secondhand bikes out there. I used to think bikes was the access. Bikes are expensive too, like a real nice carbon fiber, sure, but there's a lot of secondhand bikes that are out there for, I think, some of the, let's call them medium range athletes. The thing that I hadn't really reflected on until I've been speaking to some, other parents is access to things like swim coaching. You don't realize that in itself is quite an expensive exercise in Bermuda, and it's so critical to the sport, right? So even when you think what might be the financial hindrance, actually then you realize that's not the one.
Right.
And so making sure that there's that ongoing discussion around how financial support can be flexed to support the right thing for the right children at the right time.
proper coaching, a
Yeah.
really good support team, mental team.
Physio is another one, right?
It's a ton, I mean.
At that age, I was like, you need physio?
Mental coach is important. I mean, you gotta pay
Yes.
for them. I know myself through golf recently. I've been fortunate enough to work with my coaches in Dallas, fitness coaches in Dallas, and he's been super supportive, and he's actually given me a big break on my coaching. His main thing is he just wants to see me do well and be a good human, and eventually make it on the PGA Tour and play in Masters.
We'll all come watch you.
Yeah. So like it does take a lot of fun, but if you kind of I feel like if you meet the right people and you just lay it all out to them, then you find a lot of support from coaches and whenever they give you those little breaks for a bit. But no, it is very important to have that financial plan for that. I mean, I wish I had that earlier.
Yeah.
I
But
figured it out
that's it on
along
the
the way.
financial literacy. I think in general, that's a passion project for me in the schools at the moment anyway. But I think connecting that with the athletes, I think is super
It's
important.
very-
And it's a life skill. We talk about education, but I mean, you also need to be able to manage your budgets, life,
Absolutely.
right? So it's all kind of interconnected and creating a more rounded human,
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
It's important for the people who have done or been down the path to, as part of their give back, to explain, that this is what I went through, right? So if I think about the sailing journey, and my daughter's, very, very young into it, but when we first started to go to regattas, it's a brand new sail every time you go to a regatta, and that's not cheap, right? You don't have to, but of course they're like, oh, no, this is a regatta, I need a brand new sail, right?
Yeah.
And they're like $500, $600 a pop, right? And then, you talk about the bikes being carbon fiber, the kids all, when you get into that level, you want, like the carbon fiber rudders, tillers, all of that, right? The mast, the boom, that sort of thing. And those things are expensive,
You
right?
want the best equipment.
That's right. You're like, so they can make a case for, I'm going to sail better if I have better equipment, right? And so I don't think that from the sailing community, I think some of the parents coming through now would benefit from hearing from the parents, like a Christian Evans parents and a PJ's parents, to say, look, this is what the expense has been if you really want to go to that level, right? And the parents being able to plan for it. But the kids need to be there as well, because they need to understand you don't need a new sail every time, right? Like you can do with that sail and budgeting and planning so that you have enough funding for the next, right? I think that's really important. And I think, like I
Nothing
said,
wrong with a good car wash.
yeah, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta
Another
put
good car wash.
some sweat equity into it too, right?
Keep it clean, take care of your stuff. I know, like for golf clubs, the grooves, Evans can check it out, but the grooves, they get worn out after a period of time. And I mean, you can get you need to get a pair of new clubs out there. That's like 2 to 3 years, but it's expensive. I mean,
Absolutely.
a set of clubs cost you like $1,200. I mean, don't let them break, because the shaft will cost you another. Depends if you break the driver. The first time I broke the driver, quick story. Years ago, I never ever do it again. I hit a bad shot and I cracked it. I got it fixed locally. It cost me like $350. Never in my life do it again. Never break a shot.
You cracked it on purpose.
I was very,
Oh.
it was one of those moments where you're in the heat of, you're playing well, you're going along well, and you get a bad shot.
That's Saturday for me, man.
And man, I just crack. Sorry. Cool. Go find a new one. Glad I was working, was able to pay for it, but still, it's very expensive.
Mental resilience.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that stuff usually. That was the first and last time I've ever done that. But I can imagine like a sail, different things. I mean, with some shafts, can even cost you north of like $1,000. So.
We'll stay away from golf.
Yeah, that's it. Running a pair of sneakers is not too bad. Dr. Evans, I'm gonna give you a magic wand. If there's something you could do or influence, or you could just wave your magic wand and change something right now to help Bermuda sports and athlete opportunities advance, what would you use your magic wand to change?
It might be my financial standing. I'll help everybody. You're on this.
I'll maybe.
I'll
maybe for that one.
I think we have to do more to connect everyone and connect the conversations. So we're here on the eve of triathlon. I don't know if everyone knows that in North America, women's triathlon is an emerging sport in the NCAA. They now have 40 schools that offer full scholarships. And if you're versed in going through the clearinghouse and going through the process of writing to schools and attracting the attention of the coach, so you find out if they're interested and if the university has what you want to study, and then can you be part of the program. Heretofore, it didn't exist for triathletes or women triathletes. So now it's there. So I think just the ability for all sports, and actually I'm going to a meeting after this of the national governing bodies. So I'll be around a forum with all of the other presidents, and that's the kind of thing I think we need to do better and strengthen and work on communication. Everything's expensive and money is really, really important, but we're still at the foundational level. We are around our clubs, around our programs. I try to stress to parents, don't scream at children about running. Okay, every day is not winning day. Okay, I just need best effort day. Give me what you got today, and we'll see how we work on it and develop that. There are a lot of young people, and I don't want this to get misunderstood, because this is not disparaging, but I have young athletes who never won a meet outside of Bermuda, went to Caribbean, finished last, but they have a full scholarship, and now they're working in our community. Nurses and clinicians, and one that even works in this building, I believe. So, and I think, especially in a North American setting, if we're not pushing people toward pros, if we're pushing them toward universities, I think there's a lot of more opportunities. And me personally, it's great to hear the Key story, because my son Aaron and the Key are good friends. They grew up together. They played together at Dandytown. And then Aaron just made the decision one day. I think they were playing Kenny Thompson's team. After a really tough game, I'm running track.
And it's interesting because McKee had to make that decision because he was a good runner too.
Absolutely.
And so, and it's interesting, they were both in the same path and
good friends.
Yes, chose running, and McKee had to make a decision. He had to choose. We knew that you couldn't do both,
Right.
and he chose football.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Anybody else have something they're passionate about? They want to wave their magic. I love the collaboration conversation.
And I wanted to build on that because I feel like we as a community need to pool our resources overall. I think there is a lot of individual governing bodies doing absolutely the best that they can. Let's not fault any of them. But I think, there's a limited pool of resources. There's also limited kids, who are, and I think if we can keep as many children in the program as possible, then I think that really does set the entire group up for wider success. Because, I reflect upon, the BCA program for junior cycling is kind of falling away now due to the lack of children because they're all doing tri training right now. But actually, if we just pause that for a bit, let the kids finish their tri for now, the spring they'll all be racing again, and it's like working together with those governing bodies to be able to get the most out of what little funding there is sometimes available.
And get the most for the athletes.
Yes.
One of the things I try to shy away from is trying to tell a athlete, stop playing another sport. No, play those sports.
That's
Play
right.
ball.
Do as much as you
Do
can.
it as much as you can. Whatever your passion is ours. Now, Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be at the track, so come back.
Yeah.
Okay, but and so.
But a good coach knows that.
And also a decision.
And that's about the good coach, right?
Right.
My son also plays football with Richard Todd, and he's really stressed this week because he has a game actually against Dandytown on Friday, and he's racing in the WTCS on Sunday, and he's like, I don't know which to do. And Richard's like, just don't play football this week.
Yeah.
It's no biggie. I know you're committed to the team, but they're.
That's a good coach.
Yeah. That is what I think these kids need to hear too, right?
Absolutely. That's huge.
Yeah, some people, and obviously not Richard Todd, they value winning, and it's like winning is not the only thing. We're trying to develop young people, trying to develop humans to be successful, and that's the kind of nurturing you really want. So they have a value for all sports, have a value for the coaches, and then they decide what their passion is, and hopefully it'll lead to a professional career, or at the very least a college scholarship that leads you into a professional career, and then you can give back.
Yeah.
So that's
Paybacks, the give back, that's important.
That's important.
It's important.
Very important.
Because you are their idols today,
Yeah.
right? And I think you have to, sometimes that's easy to forget that, okay, it was a one time that you smashed the golf club, but like an 11-year-old might have seen that and thought, oh, okay. So I think, but it's you're the idols of, it cost me too much money.
I mean, identifiable role models are huge. I always say that. And I think it's important for young Bermudians to see other Bermudians going to the heights of sport, to the heights of any industry, because it shows you that someone that comes from the same place, has gone to the same schools, has driven the same street, has been able to be a world leader. And that's what I love about Bermuda. It's such a small place, but there are so many world leaders that it's really staggering. We need to celebrate those heroes, those sportsmen, those industry leaders, those business people that do great things, because they inspire our next generation. So that's very important. And we could not be sitting here right now at a World Triathlon Series panel and not talk about an inspiration for all of us, Flora Duffy, and her Olympic gold. I just want you to quickly, each of you, tell me what it meant to you when it happened and what it means to be looking forward to seeing her come back and compete.
It was amazing, goosebumps. I can't even imagine explaining the feeling that came over when you saw her win that. Like I can't wait to see her. We were just talking about like has it really been the 3 years, right? Like it didn't feel like 3 years, I think, because of the whole crazy COVID,
Yeah.
right? And so it's going to be awesome to see her again. And, you know, she's so down to earth. And I think when we talk about like our mentors in the athletic programs, I think it's important to acknowledge that so many of them are down to earth, and so many of them relate to the kids on the street, because you know that's where you came from. I think the Bermuda athletes like the Flora are very different from an athlete overseas.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And that's what I love. I mean, Nikki does it as well. Like he goes and back and talks to Dandytown. He talks to the kids. He loves all of that, and it's so awesome to see. He does stuff for us at Connect Deck. Miko does stuff for us at Connect Deck, and it is so awesome just to see them give back as mentors. And seeing Flora, I mean, I'm sure Flora is busy all week, and not just, you know, I'm hoping that she's focusing on her, you know, what she's got happening this week, but I'm sure she's also giving back, and it's going to be awesome to see her.
Anybody else have something that stands out about that moment?
So for me, and people in the track community, Laura's one of us.
Yeah.
Laura started
adopted it, right?
No, we didn't adopt
No, you're
her.
right.
She
She
started the
started,
Bermuda
that's
Pacers,
right.
right? She won Front Street Mile.
Yeah.
She was a track runner. So
Yeah.
we've been, Charlie Duffy's been a supporter all the time. So it was just like to see one of those who come through the ranks emerge on the world stage. And it's just like beyond pride and tears. And she gets everything she deserved. And I mean, she worked really hard at it too. That's the untold story.
Oh, yeah.
Laura told it, right? She just kept in there, kept digging at it, and kept progressing. And so, you know, we just celebrated her victory. We're proud of her and couldn't wait to see her when she came home. And
Yes.
really excited for the Duffy family too.
Oh, yeah. I cried like a baby, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I sat on my sofa and I cried like a baby. But I think the other thing that is so cool for me personally, obviously, is, you know, she came back that October that she was back. She went back to Tri-Heads, where both my kids were at the time. The reason that Bermuda is fielding 25 athletes in Carifta next weekend is because Flora came last October. She rode with them. And she had her little pup, you know, she did her training ride out there anyway. She stopped, she took 30 minutes just to run with the kids and ride with the kids. And that is why you have 25 kids next weekend racing in a Bermuda suit. It's amazing, right? And again, coaching though. I mean, Neil is an amazing coach as well. And you know, he believes in those kids, and she gives back because he gave to her, and you know, it's a beautiful circle, right? You know, so I'm just hoping she's going to bring her best.
Yeah, we know she is.
And let's also not forget Tyler and Erica too. I mean, 3 athletes. I mean, also the Commonwealth Games, I cried like a baby then too, you know, with how amazing that we fielded a mixed relay team.
And
We have a population of 65,000 people, and we fielded a mixed relay team. I mean, I think, I always call us, you know, small and mighty. Bermuda punches well above her weight, and I think that's a great example of that.
Yeah. Miko, one elite athlete to another. What does it feel like to know what she's been through and where she ended up?
Sense of pride, really, as a Bermudian, a lot of pride. Just to know, as an individual athlete, the amount of work that you have to put in, like you said, behind the scenes, to reach there, where people don't see it.
Yeah.
You know, so as individual athlete to individual athlete, it's a lot of pride to see that, and just to know that it is possible. From coming from a small island, we have a ton of athletes here, that it is possible to make it at that level if you put your head down and really work at it, and you have the support. It's possible.
Okay. Possible.
Definitely possible.
Yeah, and we all need to see that. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
you look at Nike, Aaron. I mean, it's possible. And I feel like we have to tell our kids too that it is possible to do that.
Oh, the new posters just slayed me. That's just perfect. Run, swim, bike, dream, achieve. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Swim, bike, run, dream,
Love
achieve.
it. Love it. Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Shout out to
Shereen.
Shereen. Yeah, good job,
All right.
Shereen, on that. Very, very good. Yeah. Okay, so we're winding down, and something I think about a lot, and I think it's because I'm the mom of a Bermudian daughter. Maybe I always think about where will Bermuda be in 10 years for her as she comes at the ranks. Now, if you ask her, she's not interested in running. I hope that changes. She's the last kid that wants to run right now, of course, but I think about her and I think about all of our children and the next generations, and I have a dream for Bermuda from a sports perspective, but I'd love to hear what your vision, what's your dream, what you'd like to see for Bermuda in 10 years on a sport, from a sports perspective, what it would look like. I'll start here with you, Cora. What do you think? Have you ever thought about that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see us. I know we have so many kids out there already representing Bermuda. I think we just talked about, like, there's so many athletes out there around the world that it would be awesome, to have more, right? And then for me, I think it's really important to give back.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is we tend to, our older athletes tend to not give back as much as I don't think they realize how much we need them, right? I think we need to collaborate to make that happen. I think if I was looking 10, 15 years down the road, I would want us to have this unified sports community with the likes of Kamiko and the likes of Nikki and the likes of all the different, all the different sports all come together for this collective win of Bermuda, right? Where we're not just trying to make golf the best. We're not just trying to make cricket the best. We're not just trying to make football the best, but we're trying to make Bermuda the best as a collective sporting community. And the only way that's going to happen is if the likes of all of the people and all of the sports athletes come back and give back and share their experience, share their understanding for how they got to where they got to, lessons learned, tips, all of that. And like, I see that, I think about it, like what we do for tech and how we do all these talks about tech. We need to do these talks about sports. We need to have the people talking about finance and come and do that for our athletes, right? And so that they know what they have to do to get to that world stage, but it has to be collective because there's not enough resources on the island to do it individually. Bermuda works in silos quite a bit, and we need to stop that.
Very well said. Dr. Evans.
Well, 10 years, this allowed me to work retrospectively. In September, I had the opportunity to start to really beam with pride because we had something that was unique for us. Juma Machette, Allison Outerbridge, Cyria Lattimore, all recent college grads, all who earned college scholarships, came back to coach. Now, when you get 20-somethings who have everything else to do besides come and work with children, but are committed because they went through the program, they felt that people gave them, and so they want to give back, is just outstanding. So hopefully in 10 years, we will have more, multiply that. Allison Outerbridge, our vice president, she even has taken on another role and joined the association in an administrative role. She's vice president. She said, the same things you've been doing, we're going to kind of formalize this a little bit better. And she brought other athletes to help the Focus program. And so although they're not coaching, they're filling roles of mentoring, trying to help our student athletes understand what it takes to be ready for the academic side, what it takes to be ready for the professional side. And that was her vision. She credits me, but I see just a whole different plane that's just taking it to a different level. So I'm really proud of all of that. And so hopefully in 10 years, we continue to see that growth. And the only area that we are, BNAA is really weak in, is not getting athletes ready for college. It's continuing along the path so they're on the world stage, okay? And as you well know, that's just a different level. Sometimes athletes finish, they try the pro ranks, like Aaron, he was pro for a couple of years, injuries. All right, I'm going back to school, I'm done.
Yeah.
And we're done. And he had a successful career, and we're really proud of that, and that's fine. But we want athletes to start to compete on that stage so Bermuda can be recognized. So it's more than just Janai. I came back this year after World Games and said, I don't ever want to go back with one athlete. We're a token. I want a team. We got to start working and making a team. And so you still start to help the athletes know this is what we want to do, this is where we want to go. We want a relay team. And so that's where we want to be in less than 10 years. But I'm not going back with one person again.
I
So
love
I
that.
have to
I
say
agree.
that you have a model, right? You have a model at BNA and BNAA, and that model needs to be shared amongst the rest of the sporting community.
I totally agree with that.
Sorry.
And that's what I was going to build on. My vision would be, I feel like the responsibility sits on the shoulders, albeit fabulous shoulders, of very few at the moment. And I feel like there needs to be more shouldering that load, and more, younger, like you said, people, who are investing earlier into that give back program, not just when they're, in their 40s and 50s and when their kids are maybe or maybe not getting involved. It needs to be a pipeline that we grow and we build. But I also, accessibility for me is a big thing. In 10 years' time, I would like to see maybe what's considered some of the more elite sports be more accessible from a funding perspective, because, everybody should have access to a carbon fiber bike if that's what they need, or a carbon fiber tiller, or a new sail if they're going to a regatta and they're flying their flag for their country. So accessibility, I think, and that will drive the diversity and the inclusion that we need as well, because there's still some sports that are just quite honestly too white still. And I think we need to do better as a country in that sense.
Love that.
Well, everything that, but I think the mental health side of it, I like to see that improve, especially in 2022. I mean, mental health is important for everything. Personally, it's a mental, how do I put it? We do need more mental health. And I would like to see that be
More sports psychology, more mental health.
more sport psychology brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
Over the next 10 years. Because it's not just you go running, you're cycling, but it's the work that you put in. I found with golf, like the work that you put in, you try so hard, you reach to where you want to get to, and you don't accomplish your goals. It can make your mind can start to spiral really, really quick.
And sometimes you don't accomplish your goals because you don't have the mental health training.
Correct.
When you get to the big stage to be able to handle the pressure. That was my issue.
Yeah.
I never spoke to a sports psychologist when I was coming up, and because I was winning a lot, people never recognized me that I was struggling with my mental health. And when I look back, I'd be a much better athlete and have many more athletes if someone helped me. So
I would definitely say that. Yeah. I know I went through it earlier this year. Good thing I can kind of block stuff out, but I went through it this year, just driving back from my last tournament in Alabama and back to Orlando. I mean, it was tough. I mean, an 8-hour drive, I'm like,
Yeah, a lot to think about.
A lot to think about. So coffee, cry, slam the horn on, but it's a lot. Yeah, mental health is very important. I would like to see that
Well said.
improve a lot of the next, for the next 10 years
Yeah.
in general. Yeah, but everything he said.
And I think those sports psychology elements are necessary. There are young people on this island that have what it takes to be at the top of the world. But because they are challenged with sports anxiety, performance anxiety, which is a real issue that kids don't talk about, or they don't know how to handle the pressure, or whatever it is, they're not able to get there. And so if we can unlock their minds, their bodies will follow. It's not a lot of time about physical potential, it's about the mind unlocking that physical potential. So we really got to start there, and I'm really glad we ended off with that. And I have to say, I love all of your visions. And for me, my dream and my vision is a comprehensive program, I guess a comprehensive kind of program that enables us not to lose any more talent. So when they get to a certain point, I don't ever want to lose any more Bermudian talent and potential. And I think because we're not as coordinated as we need to be, as a community, we are losing talent. I don't want to see a young person, somebody pointed out, she won Carifta, and now she's not, she had to stop. Not that there's anything with, working a regular job, but people have pointed out young people to me, and I say, why couldn't we save them? She didn't have the funding. She wasn't sent away to be able to compete. She didn't have the family net. I don't want to lose any more talent. I want us to be able in the future say that we have given opportunities and supported our children as they all the way through the cycle from the inception of their careers to the end. So
Support's a big thing.
Yeah, support is huge. No.
Support's a
It's
big
huge.
thing.
You know that.
Yeah.
And I've talked to you a lot about that, and so I know what that means.
Just having support that, hey, you can accomplish your goals, and not just, Nobody's ever made it in any sport, and you wouldn't do it. I mean, look at Flora.
Right?
I mean,
Absolutely right.
she is the pinnacle of, she's won a gold medal.
Yeah.
And she looked like a beast destroying everybody.
I
She
mean,
like,
she
enjoyed
just
it.
win the gold medal. This is not the Mickey Mouse Invitational. This is the Olympic, and she dominates.
I mean, when she got off the bike and ran, I was like, oh, we got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that support and just uplifting kids know you can do it. And it doesn't have to be sport, it can be anything.
That's right.
School,
Anything that they're
just
passionate
know
about.
that you can do it.
And that you have the support,
Yeah.
and you have the resources to foster your talent and to ensure that you get where you need to be. And this community has it. We have great, I mean, this panel is reflective of the type of people we have in this community. And I really do love and give a lot of props to Shireen, because when she told me who was on the panel, I said, what a great panel. I mean, we've got an elite athlete right now who's been going through the ups and downs of their career and sticking in there. And I just admire you so much because you're self-funded. I was a Nike-funded athlete. So I got, I was a full-time athlete and had a contract, and I found it challenging to go through a lot. And you have endured by yourself. You're an inspiration to me. I want to say that to you, and I want you to keep pushing through and not quit. Tanya, as I say, I love every time I meet up with you, your passion about sports, about just community and giving young people opportunities and financial literacy, something I respect so much. So happy to have the opportunity to connect with you again. Obviously, Dr. Evans, I mean, I just can't even tell you what a partner you've been to me, what a mentor and inspiration you are to me. The care that you have for our children, the mind that you have around sports and the development of sports and all the capacities and all the hats you wear. You always put the young person first and the community and the island first. And I respect that so much. And you've done so many things for our young people. And so I just really applaud you for that. And thank you for your partnership. And then, I mean, this is our first time talking, but you as a parent and what you've been able to, how you've been able to bring your children along and some of the insight you have around parenting and being able to develop them and as the whole holistic person. You're not just focused on them as athletes. That's so important. That's so huge. And so I just respect that so much. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you and for us coming together and having real conversation around the development of sport and the journey of athletes. And I guess we'll end on that note, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.